Finally, we can start. Welcome. Thank you all for coming. I know it's late in the semester, but we've got an embarrassment of riches here for us at the university. So let me just take a moment and introduce Robert and begin with a blast from the past. So 22 years ago, I attended an end of semester screening for all the RTF students in this room. So it was December, and we had all the production classes were showing their films and their projects. And that was the world premiere of Robert's Bedhead, okay? And if you haven't seen that film, see it. It's on the El Mariachi DVD. It's just amazing 9-minute film that indicated to me that this guy is really, really talented and had a real way with actors who were his brothers and sisters and really captured something about childhood. So he, one thing led to another. Within a year, he had finished his first feature, El Mariachi, which he made while he was a student here for less than $7,000. And within months of finishing it, he had signed with ICM talent agency, and he had a contract with Columbia Pictures. And went on, and you know, I mean, Desperado, Spy Kids 1, 2, 3, 4, Sin City, Machete. You know the story, okay? But I want to tell you a story which will indicate something about Robert as a person. It's a story of when he made the faculty in 1998, he graciously allowed the Austin Film Society, and I'm part of the Austin Film Society, to use it as a Paramount Theater premiere where we could raise money for the Texas Filmmaker Production Fund. One of the things we do at Austin Film Society is raise money for Texas filmmakers. And so he graciously let us have a premiere of the faculty, and lots of people came, and we made a lot of money to give back to film makers, independent filmmakers here in Texas. And so we watched the film is over, he comes up, we do some Q&A, and then there was a door prize. And everybody that came to that got a numbered ticket. And the door prize was he was giving away one of the cars from the faculty, and he just wanted to give it away. And so it came time to pick the winning ticket, and he was about to do it, and he stopped and he said, I really want this to go to somebody that really needs it, okay? So, he says, if any of you rich lawyers or doctors win it, I would appreciate that you give it back so I can get it to somebody who really, really wants it and really, really needs it. And sure enough, okay, we got that car to, I think, a single mom, right, who needed it in Georgetown, I think it was, who needed it to get to work and take her children to school, and it was wonderful. But just for him to say that, to even think that way about something that he was just giving away, I think tells you something about his generosity and how he feels about the community that he's part of. And that carries on till today, okay? The reason he's here is because he wants to share this information with you, okay? A new way of thinking about Latino images. It's been quite a year for Robert. It began 2012. It's been pretty good to him so far. It began with El Mariachi, that film he made, being entered into the National Film Registry. Which is conducted by the National Film Preservation Board of the Library of Congress. And the Librarian of Congress picks those films. And they have to be culturally, aesthetically, and historically important for the Library of Congress to say, this is a film we want to preserve. And so El Mariachi was picked for that honor, okay? And it's a very great honor. But imagine, a film he made when he was a junior here at the university. Later on in March, he announced that he was going to head up a new cable channel called El Rey, so you can read it on his t-shirt. You know, just rethink programming, cable programming in general, and Latino programming in particular. And I think that's what he wants to talk to us about. He's also, he won a RISE Entrepreneurship Award. He was asked to do the keynote address at the NALIP conference, the National Association of Latino Independent Producers, about 3 weeks ago. So, I mean, he's really had a terrific and busy year. But in the midst of all of this good fortune and busyness and getting a channel off the ground, he wanted to come and talk to you and share his ideas with you. So I'd like for you to give a warm welcome to Robert Rodriguez. Got your notes? Yeah, see if it works.
Some notes here.
Got some notes.
I want to talk for a little bit and then open it up to questions. I'd like for you to ask me some questions.
Okay.
20 years ago, I sat right there, or there, and I asked you questions.
Yeah?
So now you can ask me questions.
Uh-oh.
See if I can answer them.
Yeah.
So I had this one question for you the other day that had Charles stumped.
Yeah, it was a good one.
That was a good question.
Yeah, and it was right down my alley, and I didn't have the answer.
I'm going to see if anybody here has the answer. And if you don't, it's okay, because it took me 20 years to figure out the answer myself. But it's a good one, and we're going to build up to that.
This can come up. Do you want it to come up? Table
This
up?
whole table comes up?
Yeah. If I can figure out how to do it.
James Bond.
Yeah, it is James Bond. Table up. Oh. Right.
Thank you.
Is that good?
How's everybody doing? I was here 20 years ago. It's so strange to be up here.
On the other side of the lectern.
I didn't even want to raise my hand to ever ask you. I asked you a few questions, but not that many. And now I'm talking. I've got some really cool things to share with you. It's just Charles asked if I wanted to come talk to the class. I said, yeah, I actually have a lot to tell them. I've been on a world tour with this. I've been traveling these ideas a lot. There's something that happens when you've done 20 years of something, that things kind of click. A friend of mine knows Pearl Jam, and he said, he talked to Eddie Vedder, and at 10 years they broke up, and then at 15 years he was doing solo projects, but then when they hit 20, they realized, you know what, we're not going to break up ever again. Now we know who we are. And something about this year, this is 20 years since El Mariachi, that something kind of clicked as to why I've been doing what I've been doing, what it all means, and how can it affect people in the future. And I was never thinking about any of this. I was just going, following my nose, just in a mad rush. But you end up doing things according to your... He used to do that even when I was a student, so he hasn't changed.
He's gotten used to it now. No, probably not, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's just, you just do what you do, and somehow it all clicks together. This is a great Steve Jobs speech where he says, you connect the dots later in life. You go back and you go, why did I do this? Why did I do that? Why did I make that choice and fail, or this one succeed? And then later you can kind of connect it all together. And I'm kind of at that stage where I'm able to connect a lot of these dots together, and wanted to share with you. Because it's pretty enlightening, and it's pretty exciting, and it's pretty revolutionary. So first people I wanted to tell were you guys, because you guys are the future. So I've been traveling these ideas around the past couple months. It took me all the way to the White House. I even told the president about some of this stuff. And they were just blown away. They'd never heard anything like this. And part of it was because I've just been doing it for 20 years, but part of it was that something clicked. And why things are the way they are, and how we can change that. Let me raise that up.
Can y'all hear okay? Hear him okay?
Everybody in the back?
Okay.
So you know how I started at UT? I was a cartoonist at a daily cartoon strip called Los Hooligans. And I wanted to make independent films. I'd been doing it already at home. It was when home video was just coming into being that I started making movies around 12, 13 years old, making movies on video. And I couldn't get into film festivals because back then there was a real bias against video. It's not at all like today where they call it digital, they called it video. So if you wanted to enter into a film contest, if your movie wasn't shot on film, they wouldn't allow it, which is why I had to make Bedhead, because all my little short films I made before that were on video, and even though they would win local video contests, I couldn't get into a film festival. So one of the reasons I wanted to get into UT was to go into the film program. I knew they had film equipment. I knew I could make the definitive version of one of my old home movies to send to film festivals, and that was Bedhead. So film one, I came in guns blazing. I knew I needed to make a film that would win film festivals. And so film one, I was using that little wind-up camera for all it was worth, to try and do something that would get me some recognition. And it did. It won a bunch of festivals. And I ended up realizing, wow, if a film scout from the film studio sees this festival and sees my award-winning short film, Bedhead, they might want to hire me to do a feature, and I won't know how to do a feature. I've only been doing short films since 12 years old. So I need to go get some practice making a feature, the way I've practiced doing shorts. And I discovered this niche, this straight-to-video Spanish market. At the local H-E-B, you'd go in the Spanish section, there'd be these action movies called Perros Rabiosos Dos or something. And it'd be terrible. I'd rent it, it'd be like awful, shot on video, no action, just had a fancy title. But in the back, it had an address, Wilshire Boulevard, Los Angeles. Those are the distributors in the US. I thought, a friend of mine told me about that they make these movies for like $30,000 or $40,000. Make 30 or 40, these things are awful, shot on video. I'm sure we can make one on film, like the way we did Bedhead. Bedhead was like an $800 movie, so the wind-up camera, I shot it in my backyard, 8 minutes long, $800. I did the math, figured if I shot a feature the same way, I could make an 80-minute movie for maybe $8,000, or even less, because there'd be just a lot of dialogue, wouldn't be so action-packed. Let's go make one for the video market. Nobody will know I made this movie because my name's Robert Rodriguez. There's a million Robert Rodriguez's in the Spanish market. We sell it to H-E-B in the Spanish section. And then we can turn the money around. If we make it for less than $10,000, turn around, if they made it from 30 or 40, we should at least sell it for 50 or 60. I mean, that's a business. Let's go make it, see how much we can sell it for. And then not only will I be able to practice making a full feature, and I won't hire anybody. I'll be the writer, the director, the editor, the cameraman, the soundman. So I'll learn all those jobs. So it's like the best film school you can think of. I was going to do that during my summer break here. I even told Charles I was going away that summer to make a movie, the summer after I'd made Bedhead. So this summer I'm going to go make a movie for the Spanish market. I sold my body to science at Pharmaco, became a human lab rat to pay for it. Went down, shot the movie, cut it together, took it to sell it to the video market. We were going to sell it for about $20,000. But then I gave a copy of the trailer to an agent at ICM. And,
and it had Bedhead on the tape too, no?
Had Bedhead.
Bedhead and the trailer for El Mariachi.
I said, I want to just get some advice. I'm going to make 3 of these action movies straight to video, just as practice. I'm going to then cut together the best scenes from them. I'll make a little bit of money on each one. I'll save my money. I'll cut together the best sequences out of those 3 movies. I'll just do it myself so I learn all these jobs. They're probably going to be terrible at first, but they might get better. And then once I have enough cut together, I'll use that as my demo, because I'm only 21. I have plenty of time. I'm not in any rush. I'm already winning festivals. I'm on that track. Let me just be as prepared as possible. I'll make 3 straight-to-movie video action movies about a guy with a guitar case full of guns. And cut together the best scenes, save the money, then go make my American independent film, which will probably cost more in the hundreds of thousands of dollars range. And that was my path. That was my goal. So that's the thing, is that that's a pretty lofty goal for someone who is a student. So what I always try to tell people, especially your age, set really high, impossible goals. When you set impossible goals, that's where innovation happens. When you look at it and you go, how am I going to pull that off? Knowing is half the battle. What I like saying is, what's the other half? Not knowing. You don't have to know how you're going to get there. You just have to set the sight. And this is the thing. There's so much karma comes your way if you just move forward. If you sit back and don't move and try and imagine how you're going to do the whole thing, you're already seeing obstacles that you know you don't want to go face, and you're not going to do it. Something magical happens when you just move forward. You set this impossible goal that you think maybe you can do, but who knows? When you go forward, all these other forces come and they reward you for that. And they pull you along. And I've seen it every project for 20 years, so that's the truth. So keep that in mind. When you don't know what you're doing, good. Don't have to know, but at least move. When I had the daily cartoon strip, I kind of learned it then, but now it makes more sense that I look back. There was a way to make the comic strip. I had to make a comic strip every day. There was a really talented artist who also was here at UT. He's a huge comic book guy now. It makes sense. He was on the road to that. But it made all of us better because he was so good. We all looked like dog shit next to him. So we had to I'd spend more time on my comic strip than on any homework assignment because I knew I had to be up against this guy every day. And everybody would look at his and then look at mine and go, what's that? So all of us were amazing. I remember Matt Groening from just before he did Simpsons came down to sell his comic book. He just sold Simpsons and he saw our comic page. This is the most amazing comic page in the country. So it's because of one guy. One guy pushed the rest of us. One guy does that. I'm going to tell you about that later, this theory I have about somebody who pushes others. And that'll be inspiring to you, if nothing else. That's probably my most inspiring story. I would have to sit and draw to make the comic strip. You'd have to draw like a picture and draw another picture, and then two pictures would kind of go together, and then you would do the strip. So who wants to get into creative arts? Anybody into filmmaking, or is this general? How many people are into arts or creativity? Okay, so this is important for you. So I'm just making sure I'm talking to the right audience. This will be useful to any of you, but especially you guys. You can't just wait for inspiration to act. That's the biggest mistake people make. Don't wait to be inspired to do the action. You have to do the action first, and then you'll be inspired. So what I would do is I would sit there and draw out the comic, and I would come up with it. But some days I'd come home from school, sit down, and go, I'm just going to wait for the inspiration to hit me. I'm going to wait for the idea to come fully formed. And when I got a joke, then I'll go draw it. And I would sit there for maybe 3 or 4 hours, and then go, all right, screw it. I got to get up, and I got to do the process. I got to sit there and just start drawing. I don't even know why or how I'm going to get there. And then two things would come together, and it would be, oh, there's an idea. Oh, there's the first panel. There's the second panel. And then it would come together. Always. It would not take very long. I would fight that process so much because what was I doing? I was waiting for inspiration before I acted. It's always the other way around. Act first, then the inspiration will come. Draw first, then the inspiration will come. Just start shooting, then the inspiration will come. Just start moving, then the inspiration will come. Don't wait. So many people wait or tell you they're going to write this novel or they're going to do this or they're going to make this film. They never do it because they're waiting for all this stuff to come to them. It comes through doing it. So that's one of the biggest things that I had to do with El Mariachi was just go, I'm just going to go make it, have have a really good goal in mind, but it failed. It failed. I didn't even sell it to video. I didn't secure a soap star. That's what I was missing. That's what Perros Rabiosos had that I didn't. They had a washed up soap star in it. Mine had a bunch of unknowns. We had a soap star lead, but she took out. She didn't show up. So we found it much harder to sell the movie. So, through the ashes of any failure are the keys to your success. That's the other big thing to just remember as you go forward. I hope you all go out there in the world, pursue your creative endeavors, and I hope you all fail. And that's from the heart. Because I found my biggest successes came from my failures. And so many people fear failure, that what do? They sit back and they don't do anything. And because they don't do anything, they don't move forward just a little bit to where the rest of the forces can take you. The rest of the forces take you. It's unbelievable. If I had to break it down, I would say I only have to do maybe 20 or 25% of it. The rest is karma. It's amazing like that. And you think it's magic and you think it's you, but it's not. It's just the forces are actually rewarding you. And I've just seen it throughout my whole career. I can give you very concrete examples, and you'll think I'm David Blaine, but it's exactly how it goes. It's really the thing of action. So failure. What is Winston Churchill had my favorite quote. He said, "Success is moving from one failure to the next with great enthusiasm." Because you have to be willing to move forward and fail. You don't have to know how you're going to do it. I made this movie called 4 Rooms. I remember it was an anthology film. Quentin Tarantino. Thank you. That movie failed, by the way. But what is failure? What is failure? So people say, why'd you make that movie? And I go, you know what? Quentin Tarantino came to me and said, we're going to make an anthology film. We're going to make an anthology film. There's going to be 4 different directors. We want you to be one of the directors. It has to take place on New Year's Eve. You have to use the bellhop in the story, and it all takes place in one room. And we're not going to read each other's script. We're all going to write our own script, then we're going to put them all together and see what happens. I said, I'll do that. Now, that was just my inner voice saying, I'll do that. Should I have followed that inner voice? The movie failed. Should I have actually gone and done my research? If I had done my research, I would have seen anthology films never work. Not only do they not successful, they bomb horribly. Whenever you have multiple directors, like in New York Stories with Scorsese, with Coppola, they fail. Woody Allen failed. Bombs. Not even close. Nobody goes to see those. Had I done that research, what would I have said? Should I have said no? Or should I have said yes? These are the kind of questions you're going to have to face. I'm going to do a show of hands, make you all uncomfortable. Who would have said yes anyway, even knowing that? And then who would have said no? Just using your research. Makes sense. Either one makes sense, right? It's a toss-up. So many times I would decide a movie's fate by flipping my coin. Because I was like, either way, it's a lose-lose situation. But what if it's a win-win situation? What if you think of it that way? It's a win-win situation. That's everything I try to do now is win-win. That's a win-win situation. How? Let me explain. If you move forward in a positive direction, karma sweeps you away. So many ideas start coming. You learn so many things that you wouldn't have learned with inactivity. But no matter what, you're going to learn something, even if it's a failure. Just accept the fact that you'll probably fail. Don't care about that. And I know what that feels like. Half the reason why I didn't take anyone to work with me on El Mariachi, even though people wanted to help, one of the main reasons I had no crew, I didn't want anyone to see me fail. I had this camera I was borrowing. I thought, if I have a bunch of guys come help me, I borrowed this camera. It might not even work. I might get down there, get all go, and then it doesn't work. They'll be laughing at me, and I'll feel really bad. If they don't go, the camera might still break, but at least I don't have to face that. I did the whole movie by myself. I didn't mind failing. I just didn't want to fail in public. So I know what that feels like, but I'm telling you, you just shouldn't worry about that. That was even the wrong mindset. That was the wrong mindset. It made for a better story that I did it by myself, but that was the wrong mindset. Don't fear failure. It's part of the process, especially if you're an artist. You're going to fail. You're going to fail. Know it. Know that you got to fail. But how you look at that failure, that's important. Some lady asked me, she said, well, you're real positive, but what do you tell yourself when you've just wasted 1.5 years of your life on something that didn't work? Well, that's a real negative way to look at that. First of all, can you rephrase that a little bit better? She said, I learned a good lesson the hard way. That's still negative. Can you do better than that? It's like, wow, that's amazing. Okay, look. When I gave her the 4 rooms example. When I did 4 rooms, it failed. Now, for a while after that, I thought, why did I do that? You can't really piece it together till later when you connect the dots. Through the ashes of your failure are the keys to your success, if you look close enough. You always fail for a reason. You had this goal in mind. Set a high goal. You probably won't reach that goal. You might reach that goal. You might reach something more if you stay positive. The karma pulls you along. You think you're setting your bar high. I always tell people, aim high. Because if you aim low, you know what? You're going to hit low. If you go, I'm just going to go get a job working in a commercial place. That's what I was going to do. I said, I love just making my cartoon. I'm just going to stay in Austin. I don't want to go to LA. That's aiming too high. I'm going to stay in here in Austin, make some local commercials, have my little cartoon strip, raise kids. I'll be happy. It won't take very much to live. That was aiming low, and I would have hit low. But as soon as I had the idea for mariachi, that's high. That was much higher. Now I'm aiming higher. If you aim low, you hit low. If you aim high, you might still hit low. But now you have the chance that you hit there, or straight up, right? So when I did 4 rooms, I can look back at it now, and I go, what are the keys to success that were in there? I found 2 keys in there. When I was on the set of 4 rooms, I don't know if you've seen it, but Antonio Banderas has this Asian wife and this little Asian daughter and a little Mexican boy. And they leave the kids in the room for New Year's. So it's New Year's, they're all dressed in tuxedos. And I had already made Bedhead, and I was looking for an angle for a family film to do after mariachi. They would give kids a sense of action like I was doing in my action movies. Because I wanted to do Bedhead again, because that was always my most popular genre. The audiences went nuts for Bedhead. So I thought, I want to do a family film with that kind of action and bravura. And the kids looked like little James Bonds in their suits. And Antonio and his wife, who's Asian wife, they looked like an international spy couple. I was on the set, and I went, wow, what if they were spies? And these little kids who can barely tie their shoes don't know they're spies. Parents get captured. Kids have to save the parents. Call it Spy Kids. 5 years, there's 4 of those now, by the way. That was first key of success that was in that failure of 4 rooms. The second one was, I looked at it afterwards and I thought, okay, anthology films never work. But I love the short film format. That's what I grew up on. That's what Bedhead was. That's what I've done all through college. I believe in that format. I think the way they're doing anthologies isn't correct. 4 different directors, that's no thematic real tie to it. 4 stories, it's too many. The 3-act structure, classical 3-act structure, 3. The group of 3, rule of 3s in comedy, it always comes in 3. I bet if I did an anthology with 3 stories and a wraparound, with the same director, not the multiple directors, it could work. That was Sin City. I tried it again on Sin City. Second key from that one movie. So looking back now, it's easy for me to look and go, okay, but back then I was lost in the woods. I thought I had made a wrong choice. I thought I followed my voice, and I go, I need to question my voice. Don't question your inner voice. That's the part that's wiser than you. That's the part that you are not going to be able to consciously ever figure out until you look back on it like a history book and read the map. So you have to trust your inner voice and cultivate that, down to the point where you can be playing cards and going, I know to throw down the queen because my inner voice told me to. You've got to, really fine-tune that gift. And it's within all of you. I wish I knew all this stuff when I was in here. I found out the hard way, so I'm just telling you. When I graduated, I finally graduated from here, because when I did mariachi, that swept me off into Hollywood, and I didn't get to finish graduating. I wanted to be a good example to my kids, so a couple years ago I finished. I remember thinking, what does that mean? Does that mean I'm no longer a student? I liked being a student. When you're a student, if you screw up, you just go, hey, I'm a student. You use that as an excuse. So now I can't use that excuse anymore. I used that for years. Hey, I haven't graduated. I'm still a student. I'm still learning. Well, use that. When you get out of here, you're always a student. Always be a student. Always keep your hand up. The best thing about when you're a kid, if you ask a group of kids, who here can make their own movie for $7,000? Who here can write an opera? Who here can be the president? All the kids raise their hand because they don't know. They don't know what can't be done. They think, oh, yeah. That positive attitude is what you want. You want to be that little kid forever. Because as you get older, who here can make a movie for $7,000? Let me have show of hands. What happened? What happened, you guys? I bet if I asked you this 15 years ago, you all would have raised your hand, So that's what I mean. You want to be that kid who just goes, yeah, right? Put your hand up, because do you know how you're going to do it? No. Do you have to? No. That's the whole point. So when I ask that question at the end, you all raise your hand. Make me feel better. And I'm going to read you a letter I sent. When you're a student, people love students. I have a friend that I met in Hollywood, because the other thing is your peer group. They always say, when college or in high school, they say, be careful who you pick as your peer group. They mean that in a negative way. But now you want to do that in a positive way. Be careful who you pick as your peers, because you'll only be as successful as those that are around you, the people you hang out with. You want to be with those people that really dream big and think big, and they will challenge you. Like if you want to lose weight, you don't want to hang out with a bunch of people who health is not a priority, because then you're just going to be fighting a losing battle. But if you find people who are like-minded, that's a good thing. As soon as I made El Mariachi, because I thought higher, I remember running into some other students, and they said, what are you up to? I said, I just made this movie, and now I'm going to Hollywood, and I'm going to be hanging out with all these. They're like, what? Because I jumped right out of that peer group, which was the students, into suddenly I was around George Lucas and Jim Cameron and Sam Raimi, and it was crazy. I was like, who are Steven Spielberg? And you're in a room with these guys, and that's your peer group now. So when they say, what are you up to? Man, you better have something that you're doing. So I was like, well, I'm building my own studios in Texas. And I'm getting into digital photography before anyone else, because I think that's the future. And I think I can do 3D and bring 3D back, even though it hasn't come back in 20 years. And I'm doing this movie called Sin City with a green screen backdrop. I'm going to do a digital backdrop and make it look really close to what the artist is doing. Good show. Like, wow, good, got through that. But that becomes your peer group. I wrote Jim Cameron a couple years ago, just before Avatar came out, because I've known him for way back then. And we've been friends for a long time. And when I showed him Desperado, he was watching it in his screening room when I just finished it. And I was in this lobby. He gave me his treatment for Spider-Man that he never made, and his treatment for Avatar. This was 1995. I have it in my journal, and it's pretty cool. I remember going, hey, this is pretty good. This might be a hit someday. So I wrote him just before Avatar was finished, and I asked him, outlines what it means to be a student. Hey, what you up to besides working your ass off? It's been a long time, Jim. You were in a dream of mine last night. We were hanging out with our kids, and everything I did, you turned around and did it 100 times better. Ha ha, I guess that's no dream. Can't wait to see how your movie's going. Hope you're doing well. Know you're busy as hell, but if you're in LA, I would love to see you for a few minutes to say hi, even if it's while holding your coffee as you run from room to room. Hope the family's going great. He wrote back, what's up? Great to hear from you. You know, maybe that kind of humility is what drives you, so that's okay. But the truth is, I stand in awe of what you've done and look forward mightily to what you're going to do next. Oh yeah, on Desperado, you moved out all your furniture and put an Avid in your living room, and so I had to have my cutting room in my house. When I did Desperado, he came over to my house and I showed him. I was the only guy, the only director editing his own movie in Hollywood, period. But also, I had in my house, I had an Avid. No other movie at the studio was even cutting on an Avid. They were still cutting on film. This was '94. And he came over to my house and said, I hear you have an Avid in your house. And yeah, look, it's in my living room. I cut it myself. I'm cutting Desperado, I'm cutting 4 Rooms, and I'm cutting Dust Till Dawn. It's all in the same system. I'm like, man, I hate editors. I'm going to edit my next movie myself. I'm going to tear down a wall in my house. I'm going to put an Avid in. I'm going to do what you do. I'm going to cut my next movie. And it's Titanic, and he got an Oscar for editing. He said, you write, you shoot, you cut, you score. You even do your own Steadicam. At least you know better than to act. He said, Sin City utterly redefined filmmaking in the 21st century. I've taken it to heart, but someone had to do it first. That's important too. Do it first. Be first. I want to mention why that is. You brought Mickey Rourke back. People think it's the wrestler, but you did that already. Anyway, I'm crazed right now, but until mid-March, but then if you're in town, it'd be good to have lunch or whatever. And I wrote him back and said, okay, but can I still carry your coffee? Because I want to learn from the best. Always be a student. Surround yourself with masters, people that are much better than you, because it'll up your game. And seek out that kind of a peer group, because you will just find yourself by osmosis becoming better at what you do, or better at what you dream at. So pick your peer group wisely as you move out of here. And don't fear failure. And I'm going to show you something that I've been working on since then. This is going to take me into what I was really here to even talking about. That was just sort of the build-up. Is this network. Last year, I've been busy with my movie career. I went on and I did that. What's amazing is that by staying outside of Hollywood, and George Lucas told me this, he goes, because you're outside of Hollywood, you're going to come up with ideas no one else is coming up with, because you're outside of the box, just like he lives outside of Hollywood. He lives in Marin County. Because when you're outside of the box, you think outside of the box, and that's what you need to do to innovate. So because you're in Texas, you're just going to come up with stuff. And sure enough, by staying in Texas and putting my studios here, I started shooting digital 12 years ago, before other people in the industry, and it's now catching up. I figured out once I started shooting digital, hey, I could put 2 cameras together and do 3D digital. Because I always wanted to do 3D before on film, but it was impossible. The cameras were archaic. But now, with digital, you can go do 3D, I'm sure. So that was the first digital 3D movie, was Spy Kids 3. In 2002, I shot that. That became the biggest of the Spy Kids, and Jeffrey Katzenberg went, 3D is the future, we're going to do everything 3D from now on. And they went on that track. But that was the first one. And then with Sin City, once I did that movie, which was mostly green screen, I've realized, wow, I could do something like Sin City and make it look like the comic book by shooting on green screen the same way I did the 3D movie. That innovated that technique for Sin City that people just do now. They just do those kind of movies. You see all those green screen heavy movies, artistic sort of graphic movies. So a lot of innovation can come out of here. And Hollywood will imitate you because you're thinking outside of the box. So whenever you see people going this way, go that way. Like always think higher. Like somebody said, what do? I got a movie and I'm trying to get into the festival. How do I get people to see it? I go, well, don't go to the festivals. Won't go to the festivals, but you're competing with everyone else who's on the same level as you, competing for the same slot. Think bigger. Think higher. You know what? There's less people up there. Everybody's here trying to get in. Up here, nobody. You go up there and you find a couple. I find Jim. Jim Cameron's over there. There's him. There's George Lucas. There's, thinking up here, no competition. I know it's amazing. But like I thought about getting into TV before. But why? I mean, there's so many people jockeying for 7 p.m. on NBC that it's like you're fighting everybody in the industry. Think up here. What if I owned a network? What if I owned a network where I can put on any show I wanted? How many people are up for a network? Well, last year, a friend of mine who represented Salma, he came to me and said, Comcast, the biggest cable provider in the country, Comcast is joining with Universal. They're going to merge. The FCC won't allow it unless they don't erase smaller business operators are going to kind of go out the window. So they're making them designate several channels that they have to give away to minority US-born owners. They said to me, we'd like you to come own a network that will compete with Univision. Yep, my hand went up like that, just like I did with Quentin. Now, what am I going to do with a network? How am I going to fill up it? I already have a film business. But my hand went up. I was like, what the hell? Always follow your inner voice. So I thought, well, I say yes because I have 5 kids. Even though they're bilingual, they live and converse in English like most second, third generation Hispanics. And there's nothing on TV that represents who they are. So just for them, that's good enough for me to say, let's start the process, see what happens. I'll come up with an idea for network. We'll see what happens, but that's noble enough an idea. Sometimes it starts for a personal reason like that. That's the best, rather than monetary reason. And let's not go make more money. It's just like really, it disturbs me that they don't have anything on TV or in media images. And he taught me that. The class I took with you was Latin images. That influenced me so much through my career was Latin images when he showed me the opening to Raiders of the Lost Ark. And we all watched it and laughed. And he said, now look at the Latin images. Look how many scared, conniving, backstabbing Latins are in the first 3 minutes. And I was like, wow, you don't even think about it. We're like, wow, I didn't even think about that. You don't even think about that. You don't think about the negative imaging that goes on, not on purpose, just because Spielberg didn't know. He was just doing it. We need a bad guy, let's just use a Latin guy. So, I mean, I worked with him later. He wanted to change that by doing Zorro. But that's just what happens. So if you're thinking about it consciously, you can actually do the reverse. What if we presented the reverse? Unless you're a Latin filmmaker, who's gonna do that? So I signed up for the network. I went along trying to figure it out, and I got it. I gave him a pitch for a network called El Rey, which was for second, third generation Hispanic, more male-oriented, sort of like my movies, or like Desperado or Machete or Dust Till Dawn. I thought, let's give guys, there's a lot of stuff for women to watch. They can watch novellas and things like that, but guys don't have anything. And whenever they put like an action movie on Telemundo, the ratings go through the roof because they have nothing to watch. But then we decided, no, let's make it English though. So we're changing it, we're kind of adapting with a network. That was the original idea. And your ideas will change as you go, but that was the original idea. But then I kind of stuck with El Rey, even though it'll appeal to men and women. Because I don't know if you all know the song El Rey. It's an old classic mariachi song called El Rey, which is guys usually, when they get drunk, they sing it to themselves. It's to make them feel like when you watch this network, you're going to be taken care of. Because then it's very historical and there's actually some pride in it. I don't know why I picked the name, and now it makes sense. Now when I tell you this other stuff that's been happening since this phenomenon, this movement that's happened, it makes sense why El Rey. El Rey, the words to El Rey are, I don't have a throne or a queen, and I'm on the outside, and no one understands me, but I'm still the king. It's like, I have nothing, but I have my pride, So that's what El Rey is. I'm going to show you just the images that I've been doing over the past 20 years, starting with El Mariachi. Because when I did El Mariachi, I did it for the Spanish video market, but also I'm Latin, so the characters are Latin. And when I went to do Desperado, I wasn't trying to make a Latin film with Desperado. I wanted to make an action movie anybody could see. But because I'm Latin, the character's going to be Latin probably, because what do? They say, write what you know. Well, you're Latin. That's your point of view. So even though it's an English, straight up action, it's going to have a Latin actor and Latin character. I found there was no Latins working in Hollywood. 0 in the actors when I went there in '94.
Really?
Zero. There were nobody. Antonio was the closest thing to a star, and he was in Spain doing the Almodovar movie. So I brought him, anchored the movie with him. Sama, they didn't want her, didn't think she was anything. And this is why being first is important. They said, well, why didn't you use Cameron Diaz? She just was in The Mask. And that was a hit. Because it was a hit, see? Because somebody did it first, and it was okay to use someone with a Spanish surname. I said, well, I'm looking for someone that's going to compliment Antonio more, but that's great. I mean, that she got in.
But that was Road Racers, where you
then I had to go make a whole other movie with Sama to convince them to use her. But yeah, you had to go
That
through
she
this
could
whole
act.
dance. But that's when I realized, wow, not only do I have to demand to cast Latin, but I have to make stars out of them the first time out. So that I don't have this problem again. Because if I go make another movie, it's probably going to have a Latin character in there somewhere, if I write it. And if they're going to give me this hassle every time, I got to make my own stars. So I did that again on Dust Till Dawn. I went to do Dust Till Dawn with Quentin. He wrote it. He wrote the part that Salma plays in Dust Till Dawn for Madonna. It was called Blonde Death, the character. And I said, well, it takes place in Mexico. It's a Mexican bar. It should be actually a Mexican character. He goes, oh yeah. And I said, well, I just cast this girl, Salma Hayek. I discovered this actress that I did a whole other movie with just to get her the part in Desperado, just so I could cast her in this movie. And she'd be great. He saw her, he goes, oh, I love her. Let me rewrite the part for her. And then I thought, well, I need her to dominate the screen. So I thought of this dance that she does. This wasn't in the script. She comes out and does this dance with a snake. This friend of mine had the music for us. And that sounds like a snake dance. Let's make a dance where she comes out before she kills everyone. So when she comes out, I remember Quentin watched it. He goes, I love how the curtain opens and there's no music, just curtain, little rickety curtain. And she steps out. And then the music starts, and she does this amazing dance with a snake. I mean, we want audiences' jaws to be on the ground, so they go, this is a star. So then on other movies, I wouldn't have that problem. So I just did that throughout my career. Even on Spy Kids, I remember it's a Latin family, because it's based on my brothers and sisters. The main thing is I wanted to make a movie about my 10 brothers and sisters, but in a way that wouldn't turn people off, like, what am I going to watch this guy's family for? Latin family. So when I thought of the Spy Kids angle, I thought, wow, it'll be an action movie, but I'll still talk about my family. My uncle was Gregorio Rodriguez. He was an FBI special agent who brought down 2 top 10 criminals. So I was real proud of him. So I named Antonio's character after him. My sister Carmen, my brother Cecil Jr., Junie, it's named after my brother. My uncle Felix is in there. I mean, my whole family's in this movie in a way. And when the studio asked the most amazing question, they go, why are you making them Latin? I don't understand. It's in English. Why are they Latin? Why don't you just make them American and set it in America? Why are you doing this whole thing? And I go, it's a valid question. So because my family's Latin, it's based on my family, and my family's Latin. And plus, it's not going to be like in the Latin ghetto where only Latins are going to watch it. It's for everybody. Don't think like it's going to be only Latins are going to go watch it. Then they wouldn't go. Not even Latins would go watch it if I made it for Latins. They want to be part of the whole world culture. They don't want to go off to a little corner and watch their own movies. So plus, and that wasn't good enough either. Then I got the answer. I went, you know what? You don't have to be British to watch James Bond. I went, oh, okay. Because if you make it that specific, it becomes universal, right? Okay, so I was like, wow, imagine if I wasn't a Latin filmmaker, if I was just a regular filmmaker, not Latin. And they said that, I would have gone, no, you're right, and I would have changed it. But we need more Latin filmmakers. So that's going to give me the question that even stumped Charles, which is, I made a mariachi 20 years ago. I wrote a book on how to do it. And everybody went and made movies. You think about going with your buddies and making a movie, and maybe you can get into a festival, maybe you can get in a studio. That did not exist before El Mariachi. Mariachi changed independent filmmaking forever. That never happened before El Mariachi. It's in the Guinness Book of World Records, the lowest budget movie ever released by a major studio. That had never happened before. That's just what they call breaking the M field. It's almost like you can only run the 100-yard dash in 7 seconds until someone runs it for 6.8. Then suddenly everybody can do it for 6.8. It's just a mind block. So all that was just showing people something that they didn't know was possible. El Rey works on a much different level, which I'll explain in a minute. But mainly, doing something that no one's done before, that's what I want to show you with this. People hadn't really done Latin actors in movies before. So that's why it was like that. That's why you ask, really? There was none? There was none. Now it's everywhere. Now, even in Sin City, I cast Jessica Alba as an Irish girl, because you can do that now. But back then, nobody wants to be first. In Hollywood, nobody wants to be first. Why isn't there a Latin network already like this? Because nobody wants to be first. It's a wide open space. We're the largest, fastest growing minority in the country. The census says we're 1 in 6 now. We're going to be 1 in 3 by 2050, and there's no Latin network like this at all. Why? Because nobody wants to be first. Once somebody does it first and they're successful, then they'll go and do it. Once I started shooting digital and figured out 3D, then they started going and doing it. Once I did Sin City like that, then they go start doing it. So you always got to be first. So you have to be first. I'm going to show you, this is just when I'm telling people about El Rey. I'm going to play this. My band did a version of the song of El Rey, big kick-ass sort of version of it. And I just put images from my movies over the past 20 years. So you can just see, if you've never seen the movies, or you'll get a sense of, over 20 years, what I've been actually doing, sort of subversive like that. I was in Washington talking to the senator. I can't remember his name. It wasn't Kerry, but it was one of these just straight up Republican, Anglo, and he was telling about the network. He's like, yeah. And you heard Spy Kids. Spy Kids. Wait, I've seen Spy Kids. And I went, what are you doing watching a Latin film?
Yeah.
You know? And he said, it didn't seem like it. I said, exactly, that's the whole point. He said, I don't go beat you up the side of the head with a Latin stick. I want to make you feel like like you just want to watch it because it's entertaining. That's what El Rey has to be. Anybody should want to watch it. It's for everybody. And those who are Latin can look at it and go, how do we get on TV? What is this, pirate TV? How do we get on here? This is amazing. And then, but it's for anybody to watch. That's so important that it's for everybody. So I'm going to show you just sort of the images that you've seen over the years, maybe if you've seen any of these movies, images to the music, if this plays. And then I'll tell you about El Rey. This is kind of what I show people. So this is what El Rey is going to be. What's El Rey? This is just taken from my own movies.
Let's play. No sé bien que estoy afuera, bien que yo me muera, sé que tendrás que llorar. Dirás que no me quisiste, pero vas a estar bien triste, si te vas a quedar. Con dinero y sin dinero, yo hago siempre lo que quiero, y mi palabra te daré. No tengo trono ni reina, ni nadie que me comprenda, pero sigo siendo una piedra en el camino, pues en lo que mi destino era rodar y rodar. Después me dijo un arriero que hay que llegar primero, pero hay que saber llegar. Con dinero y sin dinero, yo hago siempre lo que quiero, y mi palabra te daré. No tengo trono ni reina, ni nadie que me convenga, pero sigo siendo el rey.
One more time. I think it's playing again. You want to shove it? Let me turn up the DVD. Yeah. I don't mind watching it again. So I use that sort of as a sales pitch to just kind of show, and then some other kind of programming ideas of what we would do. But what I found amazing was I had to kind of keep the network quiet until a few months ago because we're working on getting it. And once I got it, it was announced, Comcast announced that I had gotten one of these networks, and I started hearing from people within the community. I wanted to go meet all the prominent, like Antonio and Salma and Jessica and Michelle Rodriguez. I wanted to go meet them one by one and tell them about the network and the idea of the network, because I'd want them to help, populate the network. People started calling me first. So the first one was Benicio del Toro, who's one of the most reclusive actors in the world. I've worked with him before, and he hardly ever pokes his head out. He called me and said, I want to come take you to lunch. I want to hear about this network. What's this network? So I said, well, see if he shows up. Even shows up. Sit down, we talk. 2 hours later, he gets up. He's just like, I got to get away from you. I got too many ideas. And he leaves. That night, I meet with Michelle Rodriguez, same thing. 2.5 hours later after dinner, she's like, I'm not gonna be able to sleep tonight. I gotta get out of here. I gotta go. It's like, wow, this is strange. This is like really captivating people, this idea. What is it about this idea that's captivating them? And I feel like, almost like with my own career, they feel like, that's why I'm here. That makes total sense. I came down to talk to a friend of mine in Austin. There's a great restaurant, La Condesa, my favorite restaurant. You ever eaten there? You eat there, La Condesa? Have you ever eaten there? Yeah, good stuff. Well, the guy, Rene, he's the chef. And I told him, hey, we can make a restaurant together. Because we can make this really entertaining food show about the network. Feature the food in the restaurant on the network on a show, cooking show, that's going to be really entertaining. To have the guest stars come. And when they come to make a movie, I'll stick them in the show. And we'll talk about all these ideas you have these great ideas you have of food and community and family. And I think it's a great, entertaining way to do it because I need shows for the network because I own a network. So we need to start doing stuff like this. And there was this weird thing happened. It's like with a lot of Latins I know, it's not humility, it's something else. He's just like, kind of has his head down a little bit. He's like, nah, I don't really have good ideas. And, what are you talking about you don't have good ideas? And he said, well, I'm embarrassed. I'm illiterate in Spanish. I don't write it very well, read it very well. I can speak it pretty good, but it embarrasses me and I'm embarrassed by it. So he didn't want to stick his head out too far that he's Latin, because then someone would say, hey, do you speak Spanish? Hey, why come you don't speak Spanish? So I said, wow, that's crazy though. The network's in English though. That's the whole thing, is that it's in English. It's Latin, but it's in English so anybody can watch it. And then he gave me this distasteful look and he goes, what, you mean pocho? Like that? And I was like, wow, look what you just called yourself. You have a negative view of yourself. Pocho is if someone's like from Mexico. If I go to Mexico, I'm not greeted with open arms like I'm Mexican. Because I was born here. You're pocho. You're pocho because you're born in the States, speak English. And you're less than. You're not them. And it's not out of meanness, just like a jibe. A little jab at you just to kind of say, I know who I am. I'm a Mexican citizen. Who are you? You're a pocho. And you're like, okay, because you don't have anything to come back with. You're like, yeah, what am I? So I went, wow, that's amazing. That opened up something clicked right then. I said, wow, that's crazy. You have a negative view of yourself. And he went, I never even thought about that. I struggle with that every day. So what if I created a network where you could say, that's me, that's who I am in this country. Not only that, I can show it to anyone who's not Latin. They just go, well, that's just freaking cool. I like that. I watch that anyway. Like that guy. He's like, oh, I've heard of Spy Kids. I watch Spy Kids. What are you doing watching the Latin network? It's got the cooler shows on it. I said, what if I had that? Then that would make a difference. I told the president this. I go, Mr. President, even we're shocked. You tell Latin that we're 1 in 6 right now. We're going to be 1 in 3 in 2050. Even we're shocked. We're like, where is everybody? Where are all these guys? Where are all these people? Where they go? Well, if they all got their head down like that, so if you give them something that they can say, that's me, that's who I am. And anyone can watch this and they go, that's you by association, you're cool, because that's freaking cool. And I watch that all the time. And it's essential that you keep a place like that in Texas, because it'd be outside of the box. We don't need another network. There's so many networks. You know what I found out? There's actually a dog network. There's a dog network before there's a Latin network. There's a dog network. You actually can put your dog in front of it and it'll play sounds and your dog can watch. Even the dog's got a network. Everybody's got a network. You don't need another network. All the networks are being done that way. You got to go that way. So the anomalies that hold up a network today, the 1 or 2 shows that hold up a whole network, whether it's like Walking Dead or Mad Men or Sopranos or one of those that the whole network hangs its hat on, those are the anomalies in a business that just If there's a CSI, they go do another CSI. There's like all these CSI type shows all the time. They just cannibalize. Again, what are they doing? Nobody wants to be first. They wait till somebody else does it first and then they copy it. That's the business. They'll go this way. Like George Lucas said, go that way. So if we go this way, and that's all we do are the anomalies. That's all we do is something that's cutting edge, cool, like MTV was in the old days. That's what El Rey could be. El Rey could be something where you go, that's cooler, underground, independent than anything they got on the TV networks. We'll watch that. And if you're Latin and somebody says, what are you? You a pocho? You go, no, I'm El Rey. I'll show you that on my phone. I'll show you that on a computer. I'll show you that anywhere. You know? And they go, that's cool. I want to see that. I've seen that. Actually, I'm TiVoing that right now. That's you? Okay, that makes sense. I mean, you have something to come back with. So that is such a huge thing. So, Mr. President, if you put something like that on TV that anybody can watch, people raise their head from there to there because suddenly they feel like they belong to something. They don't feel less than. You'll feel the number. In fact, it won't even be a number anymore to be a people. And we got to go from being a number to being a people. Because right now we're a number that nobody understands. And you've got an entire population of second, third generation Hispanics that don't have an identity. So not only does a network like this reflect the identity of a people, it shapes that identity because they don't have an identity. You ask them if you're Latin, they get all wishy-washy on you. They're like, well, I don't really speak Spanish, so I'm not Latin like that. I'm not really American. I'm kind of floating in between somewhere. And we're not on TV, so obviously our stories don't mean anything. So, but you do this, and they go, that's me, that's my experience, and I can contribute. It's a huge thing. Now, here's the big question that stumped even Charles. This is where the student became the teacher for a moment. When I asked him too, because here's the big question I ask everybody, and it stumps them. How come there weren't more Latin filmmakers? I made El Mariachi, and I showed everybody how to do it. I gave a book. Everybody copied it, from Blair Witch Project to Paranormal Activity and everything in between. Anytime some guys want to get together and make a movie and they sell it, they get in. Because El Mariachi did it, but it was just puzzling me.
But it stumped you too. That
For
question stumped you too.
For 20 years I wondered why.
I remember you would come back and you'd say, well, I went to this festival or that festival, and I stayed afterwards to talk to the crowd, and I looked for the Latinos, and I didn't see any Latinos. And years went by, and we were both looking for them.
Yeah, there are people who make, but they didn't break out. I mean,
right.
So I remember I really wanted that to happen too, because I remember a friend of mine. Well, that's a whole other thing. I don't want to get into the crabs in a bucket thing. But yeah, I just wondering where are the Latin filmmakers? So I asked everybody that question, and they go, I don't know. Because they don't have the means. I did it for $7,000. If I did that movie today, it would be $700 because I would have shot digital. So that's not an excuse. This is where it gets amazing. I've been telling people, I was in Washington, and I was talking to the head of, not an NCLR, but one of those big Latin organizations, the head of that organization. And he came to me and he said, we have identified all these students, some of them are at UT, some of them are Stanford, some of them are all over, the Latin students who are trying to get into the film industry. And we've identified them, we're giving them scholarships. So that's cool. I got a whole list, he gave me a whole list of names. That's cool. Who are these people? And we're trying to build a bridge, this is where he gets off course. We're trying to build a bridge to Hollywood to try to introduce them to Hollywood so that they know who to come to tell these stories. Okay, right there. So it's getting shaky already. But I said, okay, you don't need a bridge, you need a battle ram. El Rey is the battle ram. Because I'm telling you, you go try to make a bridge to Hollywood, ain't nobody gonna meet you on that bridge. No one's gonna meet you there. Because they're not making this stuff. How come there weren't more Latin filmmakers, I asked him. I don't know. Maybe we don't have enough self-esteem. Really? I don't believe that. You believe that? Well, you and I are both from San Antonio, so maybe we both had strong mothers. They were, the ones don't have strong mothers. You believe that? We don't believe enough. We don't have enough desire. Oh, no ganas. We have no ganas. No ganas. Stay home. We don't even try. I said, you keep going. I love hearing us beat each other up. That's not it either, though. When I made El Mariachi, I didn't make it for Columbia Pictures. Columbia Pictures bought it and they released it in Spanish and made Guinness Book of World Records because it was unheard of. It overperformed. What was I doing? I was making it for that little Spanish market. That got me excited. Because I knew they'd buy it for $50,000. I can make it for $10,000. That's a business. I can go turn that around. That got me up off my butt from being comfortable being a cartoonist to go, that's an opportunity. I'll go take the chance on that. Anyone who got excited about my story, El Mariachi, they're Latin. You go, to make your movie, and this is what that's why I just barely figured this out as I was doing LRA. If you go to make a movie with your buddies and go, come on, let's all get together, let's make something. We'll spend, what, 50, we can raise 50,000, 100,000. You're not going to get very far before you put on your business hat and you go, who's going to buy this? Who's going to distribute this? What 4 or 5 buyers can I take this to that I can start a bidding war against that they're going to all want this product? No one's even putting this product out. Yeah, Rodriguez is making his little movies up there, but there's no market for it. He's at a different studio each time. There's no like studio that does these kind of movies. We're not even on TV. Who's going to buy this? So what do? You sit back down. Why would you do so much work to make a movie? To go make it and put the money together and then go and have no buyers? That's not a good businessman. You got to know that there's somebody who's going to buy this thing. So that's why there's no filmmakers. And you need a filmmaker because when I first got to Hollywood, I mean, there was all kinds of old guard thinking. You'd get there and people would say, we got to go protest so that Hollywood puts more Latins in their movies. That's wrong. That didn't feel right. What? Go make them put Latins in a movie. If you're an American writer, like a Jewish American writer, they're writing a story. He's going to be writing what he knows. He's going to be writing about his own family or his own personal experiences. If he goes to make his movie and the studio comes to him and says, no, you got to put a Latin in it because they're outside protesting, you got to change it to Latin, that's not going to work. That's ridiculous. You need more Latin filmmakers. So where are the Latin filmmakers? You need a Latin filmmaker to sit there and go, no, because you don't have to be British to be James Bond. No, because it's based on my family. No, we got to do it this way because it's going to be more universal. You need somebody to make that argument. So you need a Latin filmmaker, not going protesting and complaining and whining. You know what they do? They just close the blinds out there. They don't look. That's not the right answer. So those guys were always going the wrong direction. But again, if you think different, you can think and you can find another way. And that's what I'm telling you guys, and I'm telling everybody around there. And I told this guy, it's like, okay, stop beating us up. I don't want to hear any more. I don't want to hear any more reasons why we can't do it, because those are all wrong. You're starting to embarrass yourself. The reason is because there's no place to go. They had no place to go. If I put a network like El Rey, that takes care of all that. If I have a network up, for all the reasons you can't get into Hollywood, you can go here, that would get you excited. If we make a movie and we send it to Robert, he likes it, he puts it on the network, and he lets us own it. Because I'm not a greedy bastard. I don't need that money. I would do that because when you go into the business, the doors are a lot closed. When you get access to something like this, you don't want to do it the same way. You do it the reverse. You open the doors up and you flip the pyramid. So people would have a chance with this that they wouldn't have before. People will make things that they wouldn't have made the day before just because something like El Rey exists. Why? Because the hope and the dream exists that if we make it, it will go there. People will make things, even if they never show it to me, even if they never send it to me, they'll make it just because the hope and dream exists that there's a place to go. That's huge. That's phenomenal. I had an idea for a show called, I was trying to think of some cheap programming I can make that's like really inexpensive to just fill out the schedule. Because we'll need some tiered down, some premiere shows and some, but I'm trying to think real cutting edge different. I thought of one called El Mariachi Theater, where every week we show a movie made by somebody that I gave $7,000 to. They come and they show it. And we talk about how they did it. We show the movie. I might give another $7,000 to go reshoot some of it. They'll come back a couple weeks later. We'll show it again. That's another 2 hours of programming. That costs nothing. It costs nothing. This show costs $5. At the end of the season, audience decides the winner gets the El Mariachi treatment. They get to remake their movie like I did with Desperado. They get to remake it, and it goes. And I was talking to the guy at Warner Brothers, the head of Warner Brothers, having dinner with him. I was telling him this idea. He was like, "This sounds amazing." And I said, "The winner gets to." I mean, the network. He was just like, "This sounds amazing." And he said, "So the winner will get a movie produced, released by Warner Brothers." And he went, "I'd do that. I'd do that in a second." Everybody wants to help. They just got to help for the right reason. So if you do it for the right reason, with the right way in mind, people will help you. I heard this great thing that if you compete against other people, no one will help you. But if you compete against yourself, everyone will help you. Something like El Rey is us competing against ourselves, making ourselves better, improving the society, because this affects the whole country. Imagine if the whole country is growing to where that minority group is exploding like that, and it's an explosion of people who don't know who they are. What a disservice that is to the entire country if you know you can change that with imaging. What's amazing is I took this to the president, I took this to the White House, which sounds like a big deal, and it's not. You get there and you realize, because you aimed high, I'm going to take this to the president. I'm going to take this to the White House. And I got there, and you get there and you're like, this is it? This is as good as it gets? You guys can't do anything. You guys can't even get a policy passed because there's so much gridlock. I'm going this way. So you go this way. Bill Cosby said the most amazing thing. Remember the Bill Cosby show? It was before your time. There was a show called the Bill Cosby Show, African-American show. Before your time. I was in high school, so you guys must not know what it is. But it was a show called the Bill Cosby Show. It was phenomenal. Everybody would watch that show. Everybody. Anglos, Latin, Chinese, and African-American. And Bill Cosby said, and it was a huge show. People just wanted to watch it because it was about an American family. It was really entertaining. That's one show. That one show changed the country. Bill Cosby said, the Cosby Show did more for civil rights than the civil rights movement. And he was right. That's the power of entertainment. That's the power of imaging. If you show people something like El Rey and they watch it and they see the kind of programming we have, that is entertaining first, because it's got to be subversive about that stuff. Like that guy, he didn't know he watched a Latin film. He just watched Spy Kids. He didn't know. So you got to be like that. First entertains, everybody wants it like a drug. They want to watch this because it's so different from network TV. If we go do the Latin CSI, we're dead. We can't do that. We got to go this way. It's got to be like MTV when it first started. It's got to be really cool. It's got to be so renegade and so different and so always thinking outside the box that people, Hollywood will be imitating it the next year because they'll go, that's where it's at. And by getting new voices and getting fresh voices from people and inspiring people to go make things, that's where it'll be really cool. If you do that, people watch the network, you change their mind. If they don't watch it, if they just see this viral clip that goes out continually from this network, that changes their mind. If you don't even do that, you just go tell somebody, did you hear that clip? Did you see it yet? No, I haven't seen it yet, but ask that Latin network, the El Rey thing, or it's good. You just change that person's mind what a Latin is in this country. You change the country like that. That's how fast that is. That's how important imaging is. Like what he taught me in my first class here 20 years ago. He was showing us the negative side of it. I'm showing you the positive side, what you can actually do. Because you know it. When I'm telling you this, you're nodding your head because you know that sounds right, doesn't it? But why no one has done this? Because somebody's got to be first. And I only got this opportunity because two companies wanted to merge so badly that they gave us some networks. So now we got to go do something great with it. You got to go do something great with it because the idea of something like El Rey is bigger than me. It's bigger than the network. That's why when I went and told Benicio del Toro about this idea, he was like, it changed his whole way of thinking. He's like, wow, it's amazing. And Michelle Rodriguez, this is crazy. I said, what are you working on? Well, I have this idea for a movie, and she told me the idea. I said, that's a series. I'll show you how to finance that movie so that you own it, and you control it, and you can leverage a TV deal that I'll give you, and we can use some of that money to start paying for a TV series that will continue through the series, and you own it. That's a business. That's not just an idea, that's a business. I'm not going to be able to sleep tonight. She goes, takes off. And it just changes people thinking because it clicks in their head. And it's an amazing opportunity to come build something. I'm casting for a new Machete right now, and I meet with like Sofia Vergara or Demian Beecher, who just got an Oscar nomination this year, Michelle Rodriguez, and all these people. It's supposed to be like an hour meeting talking about Machete. 52 minutes of it's talking about El Rey. By the end, I say, oh, do you want to be Machete? They go, yeah. But this other ideas, like a whole revolution is going on in my head, and what we can do as part of this network. It's such a cool idea because Michelle Rodriguez even said, you know, I have to go to a lot of these Latin awards in Hollywood. They're just so old school. They're just so much negative. That old guard of this real negative chip on their shoulder. We always kind of steer away from because it was not how we wanted to do things. The whole let's go protest thing, and that was just like not who we were. And I said, isn't that amazing? Look at the career you've had on your own. You're an avatar. Benicio, on your own, against all odds. You got an Oscar. Jessica with her amazing career. Sama, Antonio with his, with the career that I've had. That's on our own. Imagine if we all came together. Because who's the new guard? If that was the old guard who did nothing, imagine the new guard who've accomplished so much. The old guard, they just complain a lot. They do very little. The new guard, that's the new guard. And what do we say? We got to give people heroes. And who's the heroes? The audience is the heroes. Because we got to empower them to be the next, like I'm here talking to you. Because I'm here, but I already know it's passing already. I just barely got here and I already know my reign is over. It's about turning it over to somebody else. So when you make something like El Rey, you can do anything. So imagine that show, how do you get that message out that the audience is the hero? Like that show Mariachi Hour, Mariachi Theater. I'm giving you $7,000. You got to go make a movie that's really entertaining, that anybody's going to want to watch. It's got a message involved in there somehow, subversively, in a Latin angle, subversively, so it's not hitting you with a Latin stick again. And for instance, we give them a different criteria each time, like, and you can't use a gun. Because I built a whole career on using guns, and it's a cheap trick. And I want you not to be hobbling with a crutch. I want you to run, because you're the hero. So that's how you like turn that over to people. What if I fail? So this is, people have asked me this, going like, what obstacles do you face, and what are your biggest challenges coming up with running a whole network? That's insane. How are you going to do that? And again, you just keep aiming higher. Why would I want to go run a network when I've got a whole movie business? Well, because there's such a great reason to. That's why all these guys would want to be a part of it. Because you're going to change people's minds. Not to go make more money. That's a result. You got to have a why. It's another big thing. It's a whole other talk, but I'm going to give you the quick version of that. When you wake up every morning, you need to know why. Start with why. What are you right now? You're students? That's what you do. How do you do that? You go to school. Is anybody taking online courses, or is it all classes like this? Classes like this, that's how you do it. So many people start from what they do to how they do it. Very few people think about why. You got to start with why. So let me explain why that's important. Because when you know why you're doing something, you can attain things much better and you're much clearer. Your decision making becomes much more important. Much easier too. Apple, for instance, does it like perfectly. When you have a computer company that just makes computers and they say, what do you do? I make computers. How do you do it? I use the highest grade of technology, the coolest projects, the coolest gadgets that'll speak to you. That's how we do it. Do you want to buy a computer from me? No. Apple starts the other way. They start with why they're doing it. We think different. We think you think differently too. We think you're an individual. When you see one of our ads, there's not 10 people enjoying our computer, there's one. We want to make product that speaks to your individuality. How are you going to do that? Well, already you believe that. Like, yeah, I'm an individual. I think differently than other people. I want something that's customized to me. How are you going to do that? We use the best technology. We make the sexiest equipment that you're going to want. What do? I sell computers or I sell phones. Do you want one? Yes. Talk about why. Why are you doing it? So when people wanted to compete with me with a network and they didn't get the network, and they say, why did we not get the network? I said, well, why did you want to do a network? It comes down to always like a business reason. Well, because I made a bunch of movies and we don't have a TV deal, and if I had a network, then I could sell my own movies to myself and make money that way. Well, I think it's not good enough. You know, you don't deserve to be there. You got to have a good reason why you're doing it. So if you clarify why you're doing anything, you'll find the rest of the success comes much easier. Now, what if I fail? What if I fail at this? This is another reason. This is the other reason I told that lady. He says, what do you do when you wasted 1.5 years of your life and you failed? Well, if you failed, you look for those keys of success. What if you can't find any keys in there? What do you tell yourself then? Well, you tell yourself maybe you'll connect the dot later and you'll realize why later. Or there's another reason. My dad told me the most amazing story. So I don't have to, I'm going to try and succeed as much as I can at the network. I'm going to go as fast and as hard as I can, try to break through many barriers. I don't know what barriers there are. And if I did look and know, I probably wouldn't do it, but I'm going to go figure them out as we go. My process is when you hit a wall, you back up, you hit it again harder, then you hit it again harder. And then when you're bleeding, you go, okay, I'm going to go around it or over it or under it. But you always figure out a way, but you don't have to worry about how many walls are going to be. You just go, go, go as fast as you can. My dad told me the most amazing story I thought about just a couple months ago, because I've forgotten it. I was in high school, and he said, Dad, hey, son, come here. This guy on the news, he just won the marathon by a lot. They thought he cheated. He was so far ahead of everyone else. They just interviewed him and asked him why, how he did it. He said, well, when I started the race, I was running with this guy I didn't know, and he was running at a really fast clip. Too fast to win the race at. And we're running, I figured he'd slow down after a while, but we're leaving everybody in the dust, and we're going, we can't keep this pace up, but he keeps going at that pace. Finally, halfway through we get distracted, we're talking, we're running at that pace. Halfway through the race, he goes, I'm out of here. He didn't intend to run the whole race. He was only going to run half, that was his goal. He left, I kept running at that pace, and I won. I won by a lot, because I just kept running at that pace. I was already running at this pace. And I said, wow, it's amazing. My dad said, see, son, sometimes you're not the guy who wins the race. You're the guy who sets the pace for someone else to win.
Thanks, Dad. Thanks, Dad.
That's my dad. Thanks,
Yeah.
Dad. Well, that kind of cursed my whole career. Because from then on, I never won the race. I was always like the guy who set the pace. When I did mariachi changed everyone's mind on how they could make a movie. They all took that and they ran with it. Mariachi only made about $1 million at the box office. Blair Witch Project, though, later on, was the biggest independent film of all time. So I could go, that's my success. I helped do that. I helped set the pace for that. I ran halfway as fast as I could, and everybody else went. That's part of my victory. When I did 3D, people remember Avatar. They don't remember Spy Kids 3D. Even though that was the biggest of the Spy Kids at the time, that's what started that whole 3D race. Or when people think, oh yeah, I shoot a movie, people even say, are you going to shoot Sin City again on a green screen like 300? 300 came after Sin City. Oh, it was actually Sin City, but you remember 300, you don't remember Sin City. But that's what you do, you set the pace and you go. So if we go as fast and as hard as we can with this network idea, because it's such a big idea, it's bigger than the network, because the network is just a foothold. The network is actually an archaic type system that we're retrofitting to sell an idea that can capture people's imagination and become a movement. If you can do that, run the race, get my buddies, go as fast and as hard as you can, break as many barriers as down. If we crash and burn through the ashes of my failure, please come pick up the key to success. Take the baton and finish the race. For me, please. Because that's what will happen. And that's great, because people will get an idea off your failure. Your success could be the success of society if you're doing it for a good why. If you have a good why, that's more than just for selfish reasons or a result, like just to make money. That's a result. Think about why you're going to do anything. Whether you get into film or whatever you go do. Why am I going to do this? That way, your success could be the success of society. Your failure could trigger the success of society. You, crashing and burning, would give someone the idea and go, she had the right idea, but she did it that way. I bet if I did it this way, you help somebody make it across the finish line that they never would have made it. Does that make sense? And that's their success is your success. That's not so bad. I'm going to open it up to some questions. First from Charles, because I just want the thrill of being asked a question by Charles, something. And then to whatever you guys want to talk about. I just wanted to bring this to you because I was telling everybody else, important people, and I thought you guys are the most important because you're the next wave.
Yeah. When we were emailing back and forth and, trying to figure out a date when this could work and all of that, and, no, that one won't work, and we'll try this one, and, and we had a cancellation, and I apologize, but in the midst of all this, I just said, and thank you for doing this, thank you. And he said, no, this is important. This is a way to touch the future. This is how I get to talk to the future. So, he's thinking of you, and he's thinking of what's the next generation of Latino filmmakers, media makers going to be like. And it's going to come from people in this room, I hope. So one of my questions is, it almost sounds like if you become NBC, you've failed.
I become NBC. Well, NBC is owned by conglomerate. This is
I know.
This is an independent network, so we're already not like them. But if I became them, in which way? You mean
in other words, if you start regular programming and you're trying to get that, CSI, and you're trying to get that one hit that'll keep everything going, and then
that's not the way to go.
No, I know.
These networks. Oh, yeah, you wouldn't want to do that. That's what we don't want.
Yeah.
Because I don't think it would be successful.
Right. Yeah.
Because there's too many networks that aren't successful. They have a lot of trouble just keeping their own success.
Right.
How do you even stay relevant? A lot of it is why. Why do they even exist? It's just. A lot of them is just to make money. So
and they're using a model that's about 60 years old.
Yeah, old model. People don't watch like stuff that way. So you really need an idea. Like I'm working with Facebook right now to create the social media aspect of the network, because let's say conventional wisdom says make 8 shows in a season. We would make 6, and spread them out and spend more in social media. Because when people see this stuff, they're going to want to talk about how it affects them, and they're going to do that through social media. Right. So you want the social media aspect to be really strong, because that's what this thing is.
Right, and then that's your community.
It's like, wow, I never felt like I was a part of something till now. I really feel like I'm a part of something.
Right.
I mean, I see how it unites just the actors that I'm with.
Right.
It's crazy. It's crazy how that works.
Yeah, I'd like to see a Benicio del Toro program on acting.
He has
on
all
acting.
kinds of stuff that he wants to do on acting or whatever. I mean, and then other things that he hasn't even thought of yet that he'll now think about because it exists. Now that there's a place to go, that's why he got up, because he's suddenly got flooded with ideas just because there was now an opportunity. That's how much an opportunity changes. I never would have made mariachi if I not heard of that opportunity of that Spanish video market.
Right.
That allowed me, I went for that and I went up there. But I mean, that at least got me moving.
Right.
And when you start moving again, what happens? Karma meets you halfway, at least halfway, and takes you the rest of the way.
Yeah.
All this stuff just starts clicking.
Do we have any questions from the audience?
Uh-huh. We're going to have news in public affairs. We might. I mean, I was talking to Michelle Rodriguez. She said, wow, you mean you could do a news show that's like the real news, like real stuff that's out there? You're going to be dangerous. And whatever gets people talking, if it's good for people, then we should do it. And after a while, you start thinking about all the shows that don't exist, all the stuff that doesn't exist. It wasn't, the first question is, how are you going to fill a network? And then by the end of the night, we're talking, she's like, we're going to need 3 networks. We're going to need 3 networks. And it's like, there's so many things that don't exist out there. It's amazing. And especially if you're Latin, that's actually a good thing. Because no one's telling your story. So you actually have this gold in your pocket that you don't even realize you have. It's something no one has heard before. Everything gets so recycled these days that you forget that there's original things out there. And there's original things that other people are going to want to hear because they'll feel part of it. And it's bigger, it has a bigger response than you can imagine. I didn't know that. When I put my hand up last year, I didn't see this. I just thought, oh, there's something I can do for my kids. I didn't see this. It wasn't until I gave that idea to people and I saw it grow like a weed. The next morning they would call me with all these ideas. I was like, geez, that's a movement. That's not beyond you. And you know it's a movement because, do you ever see Close Encounters? You know how everybody goes to Devil's Tower? I started going, well, how am I going to do this network by myself? Who am I going to get? And when you get there and you start meeting these people, they all start coming. They've all been on the same journey and they're meeting you and they go, you got a network? I've been writing a show the past year. I don't even know why. And you're like, I know, I can imagine that. I had a feeling you were going to tell me that. Isn't that really bizarre? Why last year? Michelle started one last year too. And we never talked to each other. That's what this thing that happens. That's when you know something's in the air. Because yeah, we're growing and we don't have a place to go and it's going to manifest itself. And that's just the beginning, yeah.
Hi. You mentioned a very important.
Yeah, we can hear you.
You mentioned a very important step helping to define and embrace the Latino identity is providing the image in the media so people can say, I belong there. How about the next step, empowering them and giving them political voice? Do you see yourself with a mission in that direction, helping to articulate that?
In a political?
Empowering and giving them political voice to the people so they can see, okay, this is how we can...
Giving people a political voice.
Through the network? I mean, it's possible. We could do it. I mean, that's the thing is we can do anything we want. We can define the network any way that we want. But we definitely, you know, when I've been talking to both Democrats and Republicans to get support for this network because it's important that everybody believe in it. And they all got it. It was amazing how many people just got it. I think actually it was 100% of the time they got it. They knew that it was necessary for the country. And they were all trying to reach the same audience. They were telling me, the president was like, you're identifying something really important about belonging and identity, and we're trying to do the same thing. We need your help too. So anything that you can do to help us. So very like-minded in what we're trying to do. Their hands are tied a lot because of this, how the system works. It's so wacky. You can actually do more through entertainment than politics sometimes. That's pretty amazing to know. That's why if you want to get into the entertainment business, don't think of it as something frivolous. You actually could do a lot with that. When you think about the Cosby statement, that's so true.
And the thing is, we don't even know what we can do. We have no idea what the potential could be because we've never gone down that road.
Right.
Yeah.
And the potential even for the business itself. I mean, it's changing all the time. There'd be other ways to create imaging and get it to people that people haven't thought of that you're going to think of because you're going to be thinking outside of the box. Well, everyone's trying to be TV and movies. Maybe there's something new and you'll come up with something new.
As part of your idea of thinking outside the box, are you wanting to base it here in Texas rather than in Hollywood like most of the studios?
Yeah, we're wanting to base this in Texas, definitely.
Yeah, where, in case we want to enter?
But at least a bunch of the stuff, I mean, it's a whole network, so some things will have to be made maybe other places, and Latinos are all over the country. So I'm thinking, wherever you are, we'll have you make from where you are. I mean, here, we're going to be doing a lot of stuff here.
Are you thinking
the bigger
allowing-
shows that I'm doing, I'll be doing from Austin.
Are you thinking of having like internships?
Yes, we'll have internships for sure. Everybody wants to come work for El Rey. I mean, I had this older gentleman. He didn't even hear this pitch. He just saw El Rey, Latin Network, and he came to me and he said, "I will quit my job and I will come run errands for El Rey because I want my kids to have something to believe in."
Too.
So yeah, we want to open it up to everybody. We want to come. We want to empower people to go like, "This is your network. It's not my network. El Rey belongs to the pride of the people." You know, and for everybody who wants to watch it too. It's not just for Latins, it's for everybody.
So, hey, Robert. I was just curious. I'm currently taking Latino images in film right now, and I was just curious how you think El Rey will help combat maybe stereotypes that have been perpetuated through the media of Latinos just throughout the years.
Well, it's just giving another point of view. Again, because there's not a lot of Latin filmmakers, they're not given the point of view that they're aware of. Like, if I just watch the news, we're the most horrible people in the world. I look on, there's another Robert Rodriguez who's just like killed 10 people. I'm like, what's that? Most of the people I know aren't like that. But you never see those stories. So it's not that it's just negative imaging, it's just the imaging isn't, you're not ever providing another view. So it's so necessary. I mean, that population is growing and that's all they're seeing. They even start thinking that about themselves. Look at this guy who runs this organization. Look at all the horrible things he said about us because he couldn't figure out why we weren't filmmakers. He came up with he conjured up all kinds of reasons that weren't even true. So because someone didn't just hand him the idea of that was true. So when you can show people the truth, that's how you change things. And that's what you can do through entertainment, subversively, through entertainment. You just entertain them while they're laughing. They learn something they didn't know before. Sometimes they hear it on the street, they go, "That's not right. I know that's not right because now I know the truth." That's how you can change everything with that. Imaging, popular entertainment, you can change the world with that. It's what the Beatles did, it's what Bill Cosby did. I mean, you can do everything with that. So it's very important. In a lot of ways, you can go, I can do more than politics. I can do more than the government. I can do more with entertainment. And that's really empowering to know that you now have a film studio on your laptop where you can change the world. Yeah.
Hi, Robert. From Chile,
Hey,
actually.
how you doing?
You talk a lot about the filmmakers of the future. I want to know if you could recommend or suggest some new names of filmmakers from Chile, Argentina, Mexico that maybe you can suggest, or maybe we can be aware of their steps and new people. What people you can say? Maybe I heard you have a good friendship with Nicolás López from Chile, maybe.
Yeah, Ignacio was a good.
What other can you suggest?
I mean, there's a lot of filmmakers from every country. I mean, I just got one right now that wants me to see a screening. Glenda knows. Where's Glenda? Who's this guy from Mexico that I was just supposed to go see his movie? People are reaching out to me now because of the network and saying, "Come see my movie. We're trying to find distribution, but it's a big hit, even at the agency, which is not a Latin agency." And they're excited about this movie that's winning all kinds of awards. Like, it's got like 50 the record of aerial awards in Mexico. I can't remember the name right off the bat. But it's like some of these people I haven't even met yet. A lot of these guys I haven't even seen their films yet. And what I'm going to get to do with the network is not just show. I mean, that's the big thing with the network. Univision, Telemundo, all this stuff. This stuff is made in other countries and just imported here. You know, some of it's made here, but a lot of it's not even made here. So we don't have programming for Latins that are even made in this country. So that's what we're going to do for this, but we also want to introduce filmmakers and movies from other countries as well. Like, we might curate something where you can show you films that we've selected as being things that this audience we think would really like. Then people will know where to go and they'll know what to watch. They'll know, well, it's been curated. There's so much out there. We need something to kind of narrow the focus for us so we can get exposure to these filmmakers and exposure to, maybe that's an idea. It's like, how do we feature like a different country every night besides stuff that's done in this country? Because we want to do a lot of stuff from the country too.
Thank you.
Thanks. A lot of questions here. People must. Yeah, is it good? People don't always ask questions.
I know he's from San Antonio. Thank you, but he's in San Antonio, but he's based in LA. I know he'd be interested in El Rey and producing something for it. How should he connect with the network?
That's a good question. How do you submit to El Rey? I came here, you guys are hearing this early. We haven't set that up yet, but as soon as we do, we're going to put it out through media and social media on how you can actually, because we want people to submit things because we'll need programming right away for the network. The network launches at the end of next year. And then it's not a lot of time to make stuff. So we'll have to acquire content. We'll have to have people make content for us. And we'll already start making content now that we can start leaking out on the internet with, the El Rey logo on it, so people know what this thing's going to look like, and they'll want it, and they'll want to go see it. And so we can already start the change now, but it really hits at the end of next year.
Thank you.
But we'll make it known how we can do that.
Oh, I was going to ask the exact same thing. How would
Okay,
we
no worries.
contact you to submit ideas?
This guy here, yeah.
Hey, Robert. I know you're a musician, and I was wondering what ideas you've been throwing around for any type of musical content to bring that to the Ray.
It's a good question. I mean, we think that's one of the big things is, there's one more question back there, is the music. Is music that hasn't been featured before or seen before. I mean, I told a musician friend of mine, he goes, wow, you came up with a show like on the spot, how you could travel around the country like in 24 hours, put a band, get these different bands to put a show together and introduce all kinds of bands, and you can just travel around and do this and set this up. And it's like, that's cool, that wouldn't cost anything. Everybody wants to put on a show for you. And we could put it right on the network, no strings attached, that'd be great. So there's a lot of ideas, and music is a big one because, I mean, even that thing I showed you, that was just my band playing. I mean, the music, I did this show where I showed those images while we played music from the movies and go, when we made the stars out of Antonio and Sama and all these guys, half of it was the music, I think, how you identified with a picture. It's not just the images you're seeing, but the music as well. Really important. So I think music will be a big proponent. That's my band Bill Del Castillo plays in that band. Those are the guys, same guys. Yeah, that's the singer you heard. Correct. Hey, good ear. That's our version of El Rey on iTunes, of course.
Hi, Robert. Thanks for coming today. I've seen you a couple of times around campus, and I wanted to ask you 2 short questions.
I was lost when you saw me walking around, by the way. That's pretty funny.
2 short questions. The first one, it's along the same lines of 2 people up there in the front. When it comes, everyone's wanting a piece of this, and I really appreciate your enthusiasm. But I'm wondering, when it comes to advertising and the commercials and the people wanting to kind of mooch off your great idea, are you going to be cautious with what they're going to do with the Latino image? And are you going to have like an advisory council? I know you have, celebrities and a lot of people around you giving you advice and everything like that. But I'm wondering about commercials and advertising. I don't know if you've seen that Taco Cabana commercial with a lady who's talking about her mother-in-law and her throwing away. She's speaking Spanglish and.
Oh, you know what? I've not seen that, but I see what you're saying. Would they make special commercials just for the network? That's a really good question. I mean, the advertisers we want to attract, this is something somebody told me, because I'm just learning all this stuff about TV. I'm learning about it, and it makes total sense. Who you choose as your advertiser shows your audience the quality of your network. So you only want to side it with people that are of a caliber where they don't just see like cheesy stuff, but also, like you're saying, if they go and they make a commercial that they think might be doing something good for your community and it's doing the reverse, well then of course we would have to catch that. That's a whole other department that you should run to make sure that they don't.
It's a lot to think about.
You should sit there and watch like a watchdog and make sure that they don't have something slip in that we don't notice.
Right, because it's not a conglomerate.
Not because they're doing it on purpose, but just because they don't know yet. Until you educate people, they won't know that that's not right. You'd be amazed how people don't know that that's like derogatory. I haven't even seen it, but I imagine that's what it is from what you're saying.
Yeah, and with your network, it seems like you're so open-minded and you're willing to show all these perspectives, and that's also something to think about because there's really all kinds of Latinos, right? It's
all kinds, and you want to include everybody. I mean,
right.
I know some that are like blonde hair, blue eye, and they feel like they're less than too, because they're like in a subgroup of a subgroup of a subgroup. It's
right.
like crazy.
And the second thing,
wow.
excuse me, the second thing I really wanted to tell you is that every day at my school, I have to tell the kids, because they always ask me, where is Max's journal here? Max's journal, Shark Boy and Lava Girl. Go to the fiction section, R-O-D. The author's last name is Rodriguez. And they go there, and it's never there. Oh. It's always checked out, or Max's journal was actually stolen.
Oh, no, somebody stole it. What school is this?
It's on the east side. It's called Sanchez.
I got a bunch of copies of those books.
Okay.
Glenda. You talk to her and give her a bunch of books.
I would love that. I'd really appreciate that, and I'll share them with other librarians because we've talked about that on the listserv. Like, anybody know where we can get Max's journal? All the kids love it.
That's a real hot.
Yeah, and
for a lot of money.
And for all these college students that don't know, it's this really small manual, and when you open up the pages, it's a kid writing his journal, and they love it. I mean,
the journal from the movie.
Yeah.
You scanned it and did it as a prop. My son came up with that movie. My 8-year-old son.
And if you want to touch more lives, come to my school. I invite you. You're always
that sounds
welcome.
Great. Well, thank you. I might bring Shark Boy himself, the boy who created it.
Thank you.
He likes to go talk at schools. He's 15 now, but he came up with it when he was 8. Yes. Oh, he's waiting for the mic.
Hello. I just wanted to ask you, I had been reading on Yahoo about how you wanted to start an animation house. I want to know, like, where are you in the process of developing it, and how's it?
Wow, we just started an animation company called Quick Draw Animation. We'll be doing a couple of animated features here in Austin. And we open doors on Wednesday, next Wednesday. We just get, first funding drops in. We have some outside people fund it, so we don't have to go to a studio. We do it outside of the system. And we're going to be creating animated projects here. So yeah.
Is it like a full service, like animation house, so it's got like 2D, 3D?
You know, it's going to start off with a core group of artists that I'll work with directly, and then we'll start expanding, and we'll farm stuff out to different like-minded vendors at first until we build up the artist here. But we don't want to go and just start too big. We want to start smaller. But the projects are going to be big. Again, make your idea big, just don't spend a lot on it. You know, rather than doing a small idea for a big budget, do a big idea for a small budget.
Thanks.
Way back there. Way back there. You can yell it out a bit. Oh, he's got a mic.
I mean, how are you going to make money? Are you going to use the normal business model that, you know, everybody uses in cable television, or are you trying to do something different?
What's the business model? Well, actually, it's been interesting to figure this out as we go. I mean, I'm hooked up with people that have done this before. The guys that I hooked up with, who actually brought me the idea originally, they had already created a network. They had found that they couldn't get there. There was an agent who used to represent Salma. That's where I knew him. He was working with guys like Michael Bay and stuff. He was a big agent, and he did Transformers. And he found that he was working with Hasbro. He's the one who brought Hasbro to Michael Bay, and he went to go put some of this programming on TV. And children's networks don't let you put anything on unless they own it. So he said, well, let's go make our own networks. They went and took Discovery Kids, refaced it, and called it the Hub. So he created the Hub, and they can put any programming they want on there that doesn't have to be owned by the network, that other people can put on. And then he came to me with this idea and said, Comcast is going to merge, and you should come own the network, and we'll help you put the business plan together. And we'll get financiers, so we're not going to go for the short term selling it out. Just get enough to get going, and then we're going to reevaluate. So it's going to be, it's interesting. It's a whole other side to it, but you just be creative every step of the way. You want to think outside the box. You want to think, how can I do this different? We're dealing with something really different here. Let's not just do it, like you say, like, are you going to go the traditional route? You have to go on traditional all the way, even down to the financing. You got to rethink the whole system and think more like an entrepreneur. Yes?
Hi, Robert. My name's Allie, and I'm inspired by you mostly because you really pushed the envelope, and like you said, you went over barriers that were there for you and sort of created this whole independent market. So, I mean, I'm not Latino, but I feel inspired by your drive and your passion. So I guess I wonder, like, who you're really marketing to with this network, and is it just supposed to be for Latinos, or like that sort of viewer, or is it more meant for people who want to push the envelope and follow their passions and do something new?
The last thing you said. For people who want to push the envelope and do something new and see something really innovative and creative and entertaining, first and foremost. And then for those looking deeper, we'll go, wow, it's Latin content made by Latins, but it's not Latin in a way. It's in a way that makes it for everybody, because everybody's has to want to watch it, or you lose. You know, because even if you make it too Latin, even Latins aren't going to want to watch that. Remember, Eddie Olmos would make all these great movies, and he would go, how come nobody came? So, well, because you're making it You're hitting them with a Latin stick. Even the Latins don't want to go feel like they're in school. They want to go be entertained. And it's a great movie, but it feels like you're having to go to school to watch it. That's not what you want. You got to be more subversive than that. You got to just be. People want to laugh. They want to enjoy things. They want to pass it around to their friends and say, check this out. So how you do that, that's how you be cutting edge. That's how you be innovative. That's how you be, how do you accomplish that? So that's what it has to be first and foremost. And that's what I believe. That's a good question. But yeah, no, not just for Latins. You want to be as inclusive as possible. Over here, and then we'll go back this way. Albert.
Shows made by and for Latinas to, break these gender stereotypes of Latinas?
Yeah, there's going to be shows made for and by Latinas also, so to break these gender stereotypes. Definitely, that's why I'm talking to Rosario Dawson had a bunch of show ideas. Michelle Rodriguez had a bunch of show ideas. People that can start inspiring other people to make stuff too, so that you go, we're just going to start, but you guys have to come finish. So you'll get inspired by those things. That'll be how you get the first people to look at the network, is by using the star name. But really, the stuff that I know is going to be more attractive to people, the people that are going to really like and it's going to take off, is the new stuff by new voices that are thinking differently and not in the establishment so much. You need something to just kind of start the foothold and get attention. And the Flash is really good for that. But who's going to deliver the goods are going to be like people like who I was. I came out of nowhere. I came out of here. So that's where the next generation is. And well, not even the next generation, that's where this generation is going to be coming from. Those are the people that are going to pop up immediately, hungry and ready to go and wanting to make stuff that nobody's seen before because they've already been feeling it. It's like I say, it's like Devil's Tower. You're all going to be showing up there with your goods. It's going to be fantastic. Oh, you can yell it out.
Hello?
Hey.
Okay. Hi, my name is Rebecca Avila. I am an IRG major, which is International Relations and Global Studies, and my culture is arts, media, and culture. So I don't know how bold this is of me, or I know a lot of people are thinking this because you're so amazing and so cool and laid back, but the worst thing that could happen is I could fail. So could I work for you, maybe?
I don't want you to work for me. I want you to work for yourself.
Well, I could start somewhere, to learn, you started making films, so maybe that's a start for me.
But yeah, it's gonna take an army to put this whole thing together. So as soon as, like I said, I came to you all really quickly because I've only been taking this around to a lot of the big wigs. So we don't, normally I would probably wait till we had something I could hold up, go here, and to, send me your voice here so that we can get in contact with you. But I don't have that set up yet, so I'm a little premature. But we will soon, and you all would be the first to know because you're here in Austin. So we'll tell Charles and let you guys know. So y'all are on the inside.
Have time maybe for one or two more questions? Here's one right here.
Oh.
Press the button.
Hello? Oh, okay. So how are you going to rethink television shows or something? You have the standard series or season of 22 shows a year.
Why? Why are you doing it that way?
Well,
No, I'm saying, when you start thinking about it, I was talking to somebody today and they came to me, why is it 30 minutes? Why is it an hour? Why is it this? Why is
Yeah,
it
I mean, I'm a huge fan of novellas.
It's very easy to just go in one direction. You can make it anything you want. That's what's so exciting. It's come up with an idea and don't think, well, as much as I want to do this, that's not the model. We got to follow what everyone else is doing. We throw that out the window. So, we're just coming up with stuff. Now, I can't say what some of the ideas are, but when I've told them to some people, the people that I have told them to, they just go, nobody's doing that. And nobody would do that. Because the people that I'm going to attract to come do stuff here, too, will be people that would never work in television. But they'll come work for El Rey, because El Rey's cool. It's independent. It's different. They'll come do stuff for this network. People will come work for this network that would never do anything for a network otherwise, because it's not a network. It's like something else. And they can come up with anything, because that's what's going to, people will start copying what we do if we do outside the box. If we copy them, we're just imitating them. If we do our own thing, we innovate. And it's got to be about innovating. And what happens? If you go that direction and it fails, so what? Look at what you did, figure it out, and you go that, and it'll take you some other direction, and that'll hit. So we'll seek failure all the way. Because we'll stumble upon the right idea by going, try something, doesn't work, switch it out, try it again, let's do something else. And we're going to find 5 hit shows where one network might just have one, because that's the anomaly. We're all going to do anomalies so that the whole thing has a chance to be really crazy successful and entertaining and enlightening, and people will want to see it. So you have to go that way. It's like, don't go this way, go that way. So yeah, don't want to follow the traditional route. We won't just do it to spite it. Maybe there's some good ideas in it to go 22 show, but that never made sense to me anyway. So people are already rethinking that. There's a lot of networks that put on a show. There's only 6 shows in a season now sometimes, because they just can't afford to keep up that many. So they just keep the quality up and do less. And if we did more like that, did less, and put more social media in between, then that would be a real key thing to try and introduce how people actually watch stuff today and view stuff today and share things today.
One back there.
Hello. Oh, the bottom part again.
Hello. Okay. Hi. You've talked a lot about narrative. I'm curious if you have thought about documentary programming at all. If there are opportunities for documentarians and socially conscious programming.
Absolutely. No, I think you want to make it a place. And again, we're just thinking this through, but that was one of the places when we gave our pitch where you had documentary in there too, because people are going to see that this is a place where they can go hear stories they've never heard before. They don't always have to be dramatized. They can be, reality, they can be real, they can be documentary. And I think that will be some of our more powerful programming, I think will be that. But yeah, good question.
Last question.
Last but not least, I just wanted to say I drove here from Dallas to see you. Like last minute. Yeah, I found out last night, so I'm kind of nervous because
no worries.
I love you, but if you have a minute, I would love to take a picture with you afterwards.
Just want to take a picture with me? Okay, sure, absolutely. I'll stand over here.
And one more thing, the network. I just love the idea. I used to have that idea. Oh, I want a Hispanic network that caters to us.
Yeah.
But it's gonna be, I see it like BET, but it doesn't have to. I know a lot of people. I watch BET, so I think that it'll be great, and I'm excited.
Yeah, I try to say. I mean, it's hard to say what is it going to be like, but I try to say I remember when I was a kid and MTV first hit. Yeah. We all couldn't get our cables hooked up fast enough to see this thing because it was so different. It had never been done before. It was so innovative, so renegade, that you bought into the idea of the whole network. You didn't go to watch your show. Like if you watch Walking Dead, you like Walking Dead, but it's not that you don't say, I'm an AMC guy. You don't say that. You don't say like everything they put on I'm gonna watch, because it follows an ideal that I believe in. It doesn't do that. That's like, if you have a network that has an ideal that you believe in, that you identify with, and you go, that makes me feel a certain way, that is me. That's like Apple, that's like Nike, that's like a lifestyle brand. That's like, I'll follow that wherever it goes. That's what we're trying to create here. Thank you all.